Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Online Smicha. Today we'll discuss the history of the Mesorah of the Shulchan Aruch. How we get to the text of the Shulchan Aruch. We know the Torah Shebeksav is the Tanakh, Chamisha Chumshei Torah, the 5 books of the Torah, the Nevi'im and the Ksuvim. The Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah, is the Talmud Bavli, Talmud Yerushalmi, etc. We get to the era of the Rishonim, Rashi, Rambam, Ramban, Rif, Rush. Towards that time is when they started bringing all the final halachas from the Mishnah and the Gemara and bringing in to more of a text of a halacha psuka. The Rush is one of the first ones to do so. The Rush had a son, Rabbeinu Yaakov. Rabbeinu Yaakov is the son of the Rush, and he is the author of the Tur. The literal translation of the word Tur means a pillar, a beam. Rabbeinu Yaakov is his title. We give him the name the Baal HaTurim. He's the author of the 4 Turim, the 4 pillars, how we divided his sefer of halachas. Rabbeinu Yaakov, the son of the Rush, lived about 740 years ago. He was born in the year Hey Alafim Lamed, 5030. When Rabbeinu Yaakov was 23 years old, he was expelled with his father from Sfard, and they lived a very humble life, financially having almost nothing. In that situation as he was, Rabbeinu Yaakov wrote a Pirush Kotzer, a short version on his father's writings in the Rush, and you find that in many Gemaras right next to his father's Pirush of the Rush, you find a Pirush Kotzer, Kitzer Piskei Rush. It's bringing the summary of whatever the Rush elaborates in the long sugya of the Gemara. What is the bottom line? What is the psak din? But after he wrote the comment on his father's Pirush, he went ahead and wrote the Tur. The Tur, where he was more elaborate to explain the dinim and set it up very systematically. He set it up in 4 chalakim, 4 parts. Oirach Chaim, Yoira Deya, Even HaEzer, Choshen Mishpat. Oirach Chaim basically explains all the laws of the way of life, the daily davening, weekly behaviors, Shabbos, Yom Tiv, what goes in the normal routine of the cycle of the year. Yoira Deya is the things of Isser v'Heter, like we're going to learn Ma'achalas Asuris, what's prohibited to eat. Some of the laws of marriage apply in this category. In Even HaEzer, it's basically all the laws of Ishus, of marriage. And Choshen Mishpat are all the disputes that there are between people, financial disputes, damages, and etc. Now this Shulchan Aruch, which will follow, is based on this division of these 4 halakim, these 4 parts that are in the Tur. Now it is very, very important to note that it's brought in the Hayom Yom Vav Shvat. That it's brought in the name of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe said that it is accepted that all the Machabrim, all the authors of Svarim, especially the Svarim of Halacha, which is Dvar Havaya Zu Halacha, all the way down until the Shach and Taz, which we will explain soon, all of them wrote their Pirush Beruach HaKodesh. That is a very high level of connection to Maila, and that really shows how accurate and how holy every word of these halachas are, of all these mechabrim, all these authors who we are going to discuss today. And they are all written all the way down till the Shach and Taz are all written Beruach HaKodesh. Everything in halacha, everything in the setup of the Shulchan Aruch went through tough decisions. They're very exact, so much so that it is accepted that if you calculate, if you do the gematria of the 4 words, the 4 titles, Eirachayim, Yeredeya, Even Ezer, Choshe Mishpat, the grand total of all these words equal up 1705, which miraculously it is the exact amount of how many simanim, how many chapters there are in all these 4 halakim of the Torah of the Shulchan Aruch. It's that these 4 names which he gave also make up the exact number of how many chapters there are in all these 4 halakim, which is a great phenomenon. And in the Beis Yisrael of Ger and in many other svarim, it's written that you could learn so many things from actually the number of siman which matches to which halacha. For example, the halachas of shofar are exactly begin in the number of siman number which is the same gematria as shofar, and it's obvious that everything we're studying, that the setup of the Shulchan Aruch is very, very, very precise and accurate. So the Torah, Rabbeinu Yaakov, who authored the Torah, Turim, plural, these 4, wrote this famous sefer elaborating the dinim, and he also continued to write other svarim. He wrote a sefer on Chumash, and he passed away on his way up to Yerushalayim, way up to Eretz Yisrael. His yahrzeit is Yud Beis Tammuz, the year 5108. Approximately, he lived 78 years. He lived 78 years, and that is the history of Rabbeinu Yaakov, the Baal HaTurim. And from this, we go down to the commentaries on the Torah, which eventually turn to the commentaries and the author of the Shulchan Aruch. The 2 commentaries that we have on the side of the Torah are the Beis Yosef and the Bach. The Bach is Bayis Chodesh, named after his sefer. The Beis Yosef is the more famous one, is Rabbi Yosef Cairo. Rabbi Yosef Cairo was born in Sfard in the year Hey Reish Mem Ches, 5248, approximately 520 years ago. His yichus comes from the family of Rashi. At 30 years old, he was so advanced in his studies and his learning that the Go'enei Zmanei, the leaders of the Torah world in his generation, in his time, gave him the unique title of Maran. Maran is a title which is given specifically to those who are like masters and leaders in their field. In the year Hey Reish Pei Beis, 5282, is when he started writing his Sefer Beis Yosef, which is the commentary on the Torah. At the same time, he wrote his Pirush Kesef Mishnah, which is a very well-known Pirush that he wrote on the Rambam. You find it on the Rambam, when the commentary is inside is the Kesef Mishnah. He wrote a Pirush, which is also quoted pretty often when we learn these halachas, called Bedek Habayis, and the Sefer Bedek Habayis is like a addition, footnotes, extra parts that he skipped out in Beis Yosef. It's a final print. And he wrote other svarim too. After he wrote his commentary on the Torah, after that he decided he's going to write his own setup of halachas, which is what we call the Shulchan Aruch. So it started the Torah. The Beis Yosef wrote a commentary on the Torah, and after he wrote that commentary just explaining the Torah, Rabbeinu Yaakov the Torah, he went ahead and authored his own set of halachas, own setup of halachas, again divided in the same way of Eirachayim, Yeredeya, Choshe Mishpat, and Even Ezer. And this is what we call the Shulchan Aruch, and therefore we always refer to Rabbi Yosef Cairo, to the Beis Yosef, as the Mechaber, the author. The author of the Shulchan Aruch is Rabbi Yosef Cairo. Rabbi Yosef Cairo, him and his friend Rabbi Shlomo Alkovitz, who's pretty famous because he's the author of the Lechadoidi that we say on Friday night. Together they authored the Tikkun Leil Shavuos, which we say on Shavuos night. Rabbi Yosef Cairo passed away in the year 5,335, approximately 440 years ago, in the day Yud Gimel Nisan, and at the age of 87 years old, and he's buried, his Makeh Menucha is in Tzfas. The other commentary that we find on around the tour is the Bayis Chodesh, the Bach, which we call him the Bach as abbreviation for a Sefer Bayis Chodesh. The Bach was Rabbi Yoel Sirkish. He was born in Lublin in the year Hey Shin Chaf Aleph, 5,321, approximately 450 years ago. His yichus comes from a family of great Balei Kabbalah from Eretz Yisrael. After many years of moving around from place to place where he's being chased around, he couldn't find a Makeh Menucha. After many years, things became much better, and he settled in a city where not only he was able to study Torah, but he was a very wealthy man. He established a yeshiva, which he self-supported the whole yeshiva, and he became this great author of the Bach, of the Bayis Chodesh. And the Rabbi Yoel Sirkish, the author of the Bach, passes away Chaf Adar Hey Taf Aleph, 20th day of Adar, 5,401, approximately 370 years ago. These are the two commentaries we find on the side of the tour. Usually in the bottom of the tour, there's a commentary called the Darkei Moshe, which again is a very important one because, as I said, the Beis Yosef writes his commentary on the tour, and then he goes ahead and makes his Shulchan Aruch. He makes his own sefer, the Shulchan Aruch. The Darkei Moshe is the Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserlish, and the Ramah starts off writing a commentary on the tour and explaining the Beis Yosef. He sees the Beis Yosef and he sees the tour and he elaborates that or explains that. But then ahead he goes and works on the Shulchan Aruch that the Beis Yosef wrote, which he felt that the Beis Yosef is in all aspects following the Piskei Dinim of the Sephardi customs. So being that Rav Moshe Isserlish, his yichus, his background was from the Chachmei Ashkenaz, so he felt that he would add or comment every time he felt that there was a machlokes or something different in the Chachmei Ashkenaz, he would write his comment. And that became what we eventually know in the Mechaber, in the big Shulchan Aruch that we learn. There is the Mechaber, which is the Beis Yosef, and there's the Ramah, which is Rav Moshe Isserlish. And the Mechaber is basically the Piskei Dinim of the Sephardic customs, and the Darkei Moshe, and eventually the Ramah is the Piskei Dinim of the Ashkenazic customs. The Ramah was born in the year Hey Reish Pei, 5,280. His yichus goes back to Rashi. Some of his Talmidim were very famous. The Levush, we know there's a set of Svarim, halachic Svarim of the Levush Malchus. And the other very famous one is the Shalom Kaddish, is also a Talmud of the Ramah. It's told that the Rebbe of the Beis Yosef, the teacher of Rabbi Yosef Cairo, pushed him to quickly move along and write his sefer on the tour, write his comments on the tour before somebody from Krakow. There will be a Rav from Krakow will print his first, and this Rav from Krakow is eventually who the Ramah was. So the Ramah started off writing his comments first on the tour, called Darkei Moshe, and then over there he elaborates what the Torah speaks about and what the comments the Beis Yosef says, but then eventually he goes directly commenting on the Mechaber in the Big Shulchan Aruch. The Ramah wrote other Svarim, we know the Ramah wrote the Sefer, which is quoted quite often in Shulchan Aruch here, Teiras Chatas. The Sefer Teiras Chatas for the Ramah basically talks about the dinim of Isser v'Heter. He wrote a Sefer called Teiras Ha'ela, which is dealing with about Inyani HaMikdash. The Marshal also wrote a Sefer, approximately the same time, about Isser v'Heter, the Inyanim of Isser v'Heter. But the Shalach HaKadosh writes, the Shalach HaKadosh, being a Talmud of the Ramah, writes that it's like a Baskar, the heavenly voice came out from Shemayim and said that we always paskin like the Ramah, even when the Marshal differs. There's another Sefer that the Ramah wrote, the Sefer Mechir Yayin. The Sefer Mechir Yayin is a commentary on the Megillah Esther. The Ramah wrote it all in that whole commentary on Megillah. He wrote on one night. He was living then in a place where he felt he had no proper way to celebrate Simchas Yontif. He didn't have wine, he didn't have proper food. So as a replacement for that, for Pekudei Hashem Yishar Mesamchei Lev, he felt the best way to celebrate in a very auspicious way of Simcha, he wrote a Sefer on Megillah Esther. The Ramah passed away in Lag BaOmer. Commonly, there's a tradition that says that he passed away the 33rd day of Omer. He wrote 33 Sfarim, and they said 33 great praises about him, and some believe that he was 33 years old when he passed away. Now we get to the commentaries on the big Shulchan Aruch. Again, let's summarize. On the Torah, we have the Torah, which is the son of the Rosh. On the sides, we have the Beis Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Cairo, the Bach, the Bayis Chadash, and the bottom we have the Darchei Moshe, which is the Ramah. Then we turn to the big Shulchan Aruch. The Beis Yosef goes ahead and makes his Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch means a set table where the halachas are clear and very specific what's right and what's wrong. So it's like a table set with all the food, and you don't have to go and look and cook for the food. But then there's also the comments of the Ramah, and the side of the Shulchan Aruch is in Yeridea. In Erechaim, Even HaEzer, and Chayei Mishpat are the different ones. But in Yeridea, the comments of the Shulchan Aruch are the Shach and the Taz. Or let's go, the Taz and the Shach. The Taz was older, as I'll soon explain. The Taz. The Taz, Turei Zav, pillars of gold. His Sefer is Magen David, shield of David. The author of the Taz, the author of the Magen David, is Reb David Nasi Alavim. That's how they refer to him. He was born in the year 5346. He was a son-in-law of the Bach. The Bach who comments on the Tur, so his son-in-law was this great Taz. And he had a lot of pilpulim. He had a lot of discussions in halacha with the Levush, Baal Levush, who, as I mentioned before, is the Talmud of the Ramah. He originally was in Krakow, and he went to Pozna. After his father-in-law, the Bach, passed away, he responded to the request of many to print his Sefer on Yeridea, his comments on Yeridea, and this happened in the year Hey Tav Vav, the year 5407. Approximately 360 years ago is when he wrote the Sefer Taz, the Magen David, on Yeridea. During the terrible years of the Gezerah of Tach V'Tat, the famous years of all the prosecutions against Klal Yisrael, which is 5,408, 5,409, he was also sent away in exile, and he had a terrible time, Begashmias, during that time. His stepson is a very famous one in the yeshiva circle, because his stepson is the Baal Shagas Aryeh. Shagas Aryeh is a very famous Sfarim that we use for Bekius and Amkus, in-depth discussion of Talmud. The Taz, his yard site is Chav Vav Shvat. He lived approximately 80 years, and in the year 5427 is the year he passed away, approximately 340 years ago. That is the Taz. The Shach, the other commentary on the page is the Shach. The Shach is an abbreviation of Rosh Tevis from the Sefer Sifsei Kohen. The Shach, his name is Reb Shapsi Kohen Tzedek. He was born in the year Hey Shin Pei Beis, 5,382. When he was 24 years old, as a young man, he started printing the Sefer Shach, the comments on the Shulchan Aruch Yoreh Deah. It was about the same time that the Taz, the Baal Taz, who was much older than him, printed his Sefer, his comments on the Shulchan Aruch. So therefore, many people in that time, in the generation, didn't appreciate what this youngster, a 24-year-old, writes comments, and seems to be, in many ways, there's argument with the leader, the Taz. So people ignored the Shach for many years, and not only that, they gave him a very hard time. At the end, towards the end of the Taz's lifetime, somehow the Taz also got a copy of the comments of the Shach on the Shulchan Aruch, and the Taz, seeing what the Shach wrote, and sometimes he disagreed with him, he wrote a sefer. The Taz wrote a sefer with his comments to correspond, to answer some of the questions the Shach had. And the Shach goes ahead and writes another sefer called Nekudas HaKesef, which we actually find in the side of the page of the Shulchan Aruch, that sometimes the Shach follows up with a response to a comment that the Taz made, criticizing. It was direct criticism to what he paskined. The Taz's grandson, or grandson, or son-in-law, Taz's grandson wrote a sefer called Magina Zav, again to answer all the questions that the Shach had on his grandfather. The Shach passed away when he was 40 years old on Rosh Chodesh Adar Aleph in the year 5423, approximately 340 years ago. These are the very basic poskim that we study when we learn Shulchan Aruch. Again, in the Torah, it's the Torah, Beis Yosef, Bach, Darkei Moshe, and then we turn over to the Shulchan Aruch. It's the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, it's the Mechaber, the Ramah, the Shach, and Taz. These are the basics. Then, the other common ones that we find on the Shulchan Aruch page are I'll just mention a few, are the Be'er Heitev. Now, the Be'er Heitev means to explain well, which is basically a short version of a summary of the page between the Mechaber, Ramah, Shach, and Taz. He makes a short version. There are some believe that everybody, when they study Shulchan Aruch, the way to study it is Mechaber, Ramah, and Be'er Heitev. Get the picture clear first. Now, the author of the Be'er Heitev on Aruch is not the same author of the Be'er Heitev on Yoreh Deah. On Aruch it's Rabbi Yehuda Ashkenazi. On Yoreh Deah, it's Rabbi Moshe Frankfurter. And then, on the page, we also have the Bir HaGra. The Gra is the Vilna Gaon. Rabbi Leo, he was born on the first day of Pesach in the year 5480. When he was 16 years old, he was Baki. He was fluent in all parts of the Shulchan Aruch. And most of his comments that we have on the Shulchan Aruch, he wrote even before he turned 18 years old. The Gra, it was said about the Gra, the Vilna Gaon, Rabbi Leo, that he always wore tefillin. He never walked Daled Amos without tefillin. When he studied from a Sefer Torah. What's amazing about the history of the Gra is that he wrote Svarim in all different parts of Torah. He wrote Svarim on Chumash, he wrote Svarim on Nach, he wrote Svarim on Nigla, he wrote Svarim on Nister, he wrote on Mishnah, on Bavli, Yerushalmi, and any part of the Torah there's comments that are associated from the Gra. On top of that, he was a very righteous man, and that's why we find that in many Svarim, the title which is given to the Gra is HaChasid Va'anav. And the Gra's yard site is the third day of Sukkot, Yutes Tishrei. Another famous posik on the page is the Hagas of Rabbi Akiva Eger. Rabbi Akiva Eiger is famous for his very deep insights in parts of Shas. He was born in the first day of Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan in the year Tov Kuf Chav Beis 5522. Even before his bar mitzvah, he wrote a sefer on Maseches Chulin. Maseches Chulin is not from the easier Masechtas. Before his bar mitzvah, he wrote a sefer on Maseches Chulin, and his yahrzeit is Yud Gimel Tishrei Tov Kuf Tzadik Ches, which is 5,598, which is approximately 180 years ago. And here's where we have a summary of the basic poskim of who we follow and when we learn, when we study in Shulchan Aruch, the Tur, and the Mechaber Ramah and Yeridei and Shulchan Aruch. Thank you.